Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If becoming a mangaka in One Piece world. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 591, Hoof of the Soaring Dragon. Katakuri's Assumption. One Piece Events. This mark. Hancock revealed a dragon-shaped claw mark on her flawlessly bare back. The mark appeared charred and red-black. You said you had seen it somewhere before. Take a good look at it now. Luffy assumed a sitting position, furrowing his brow intensely, attempting to recall the sense of familiarity he had when he first saw it. Do you know what this symbol means? Answer me already. This is not something that I show off to people, she said, trying to conceal her instinctive tremor. Well, the one that I have seen is a little different. Finally, Luffy managed to remember. One of my friends, a fishman named Hachi, has a similar mark on his forehead, and I got it mixed up with that. I don't know what that mark is, clarified Luffy. If you don't know, then I will tell you. Elder Nyan. At that moment, old Gloriosa arrived. How did you get in again? Exclaimed Hancock. The depth of this man's heart. You've seen it with your own eyes. Be at ease, and tell him everything. After saying that to Hancock, old Gloriosa looked towards Luffy and asked. You're the pirate monkey D, Luffy, correct? Yeah, that's right. How did you know? You're pretty easygoing for someone who's caused such a stir in the world. Old Gloriosa produced the newspaper. Look at this newspaper from a few days ago. At the Sabaody archipelago, right next to the heart of the government, a Tenryubito was sent flying with a punch. This man, unafraid of the gods themselves, was the perpetrator of a Tenryubito. Hancock's eyes widened under the shock's influence. Amazon Lily, inside the art store. Silence enveloped the place for a few minutes after reading the first half of the chapter titled Hoof of the Soaring Dragon. No one expected such a tragic past behind the three sisters. Most people know what this mark represents. Previously, the chapter title was instinctively ignored after their eyes fell on it. As readers, they wanted to enjoy something, not be reminded of those who stand at the top of this world. But soon, the winds changed against their will. When Shaki saw the dragon hoof mark on Hancock's back, she couldn't help but curse with hatred. Damn! These bastards! Celestial dragons! Unforgivable! As a former empress of Amazon Lily, Shikuyaku still held a sense of belonging to this place, evident from her frequent presence in this art store. That's why she couldn't restrain her complicated feelings at this moment. She felt sorrow for Hancock, Sonia, and Mari, of course, towards their characters in the manga, and even the real ones who would now have to carry this identity. This mark. Otohime placed her hand over her mouth, unable to prevent tears from flowing. She could already imagine what they went through without even knowing the details. Well, everyone knows what it means to be a slave to the celestial dragons. This. Not possible. Alvia couldn't believe her eyes. What does this mark mean, sister? Why do your faces wear such shocked expressions? At this moment, Belmere, who didn't quite understand the situation yet, asked. Seeing Alvia's reaction, which seemed as if she had lost her soul, truly terrified her. What's happening? Gloriosa stopped her and gestured for her to continue reading the manga in silence. Well. Belmere understood that she would discover the truth after reading the manga. Far away Amazon Lily, on the island of Flivence, where a new republic is evolving towards a modern and beautiful world. In the presidential palace, President Trafalgar scrutinized the manga page showing Hancock's back and the dragon hoof with a mocking expression. An empress and a slave of the celestial dragons. Oh, the cruelty of fate, sighed Chris could only sigh sadly over Hancock's past. This explains her extreme mood. Say, I hope my son doesn't have a sad and harsh past like hers. Mary cradled her swollen belly with a mix of tenderness and sorrow. Art Palace in O'Hara. What? Toki put her hand over her mouth in shock. Hancock. Sonia. Mari, Sara said the names of her children, and tears flowed from her eyes. After everything, she had already completed reading the second half of the chapter and understood everything. This is unexpected, completely. What's the point of composing such a harsh background for his children? Stussy was completely confused. Whole Cake Island. If my husband wants to destroy these worms, I'll be the first to attack them. Linlin snarled with hatred after reading the whole events of the chapter. For her, Boa Hancock, Boa Marigold, and Boa Sandersonia were also her children since they were Rob's children. Even if reality is different from the manga, and even if their real title here is Rudius instead of Boa, they will still grow up to be the same as they are in the manga. Mama. I have a bold assumption, are you interested in hearing it? At this moment, Katakuri entered the room where his mother rested and caught her attention with his words. Katakuri? What's up? You can talk. Linlin felt curious after hearing that her strongest son had an assumption and a bold one at that. She wondered about the nature of this assumption. It's about One Piece manga and the father Rob, Katakuri said the second half hesitantly. After all, that became a reality after his mother announced it to the world and divorced all her previous husbands. Before his mother asks more, he continues. One Piece manga, maybe it's not just a book predicting the future, but it's much deeper than that. What do you mean by that? Linlin asked with narrowed eyes. Maybe. I say maybe, it reflects a parallel world to ours. In that world, Boa Hancock and her sisters are indeed slaves to the celestial dragons. In that world, Fisher Tiger climbed the red line with his bare hands and caused chaos in the Holy Land Marigoa, freeing the slaves. In that world, O'Hara was destroyed instead of Eni's lobby, and there's no Sky Sword Rudius Dia Rob, and his organization doesn't exist either. The more Katakuri spoke, the more drowned in expression Charlotte Linlin became. Chapter 592. The Confusion of Celestial Dragons. Fusha Town. At this moment, Ivankov trembled instinctively, pondering internally, she too. Hancock-chan. Tears threatened to fall from his eyes, but he managed to restrain them. He, too, had been a slave in the past and could feel everything that Hancock and her sisters were feeling at this moment. The same went for Kuma. Seeing the dragon hoof symbol on Hancock's back brought back all the painful memories he had suffered since he was a little child learning to walk. Just because he was born with a physique larger than an ordinary human, the fact that he was a child was ignored by the celestial dragons, and he was treated with the same cruelty as most other slaves. To be a slave to celestial dragons is the worst fate one can have in this world. Kuma pressed his fingers unconsciously. However, he recalled the beautiful memories he had after being liberated from that hell with Bonnie's mother. The feeling of happiness, indescribable except through tears, made his tears fall without him realizing. Garp, Dragon, and the others noticed this, but sighed in their hearts. Except for Crocodile, they all knew Kuma's past as a former slave from a very young age. No, since he was born a slave. And that was worse than Hancock and her sister's fate in the manga. No need to worry, Kuma. One day, justice will be served. You always said that. When Nika appears, everyone will be free from bitterness, isn't that right? At this moment, Dragon spoke. After a moment of silence, he continued upon seeing the gleam in Kuma's eyes. He has already appeared, hasn't he? You felt it, didn't you? He's here. Dragon pointed to the image of Luffy in the manga, confusing everyone. In Fusha. From this place, one day, he will set forth. Marigoa, domain of the gods. This is the dragon's hoof. What does this mean? Which one of us could enslave such stunning beauty? Inside the art store, the eyes of all the celestial dragons widened without exception when they saw the dragon's hoof mark, which was nothing but their trademark. This mark on Boa Hancock and her sister's back meant one thing. Seriously. Shichibukai and the Empress of Amazon Lily, Boa Hancock, is, in fact, a slave to one of us? How did she manage to escape from Marigoa? Well, it's an honor for her to be a slave to a god. He, I will be the one to surely enslave this beauty dash. In the moment Saint Manyard spoke these words, before he could finish them, he collapsed to the ground, his body turning cold. Manriad-sama. His personal guards rushed to check him in shock and fear, while the celestial dragon stared in awe at the fallen celestial dragon that seemed to have died suddenly. At this moment, Saint Figureland arrived, and the celestial dragons, who had cleared the way for him, looked at the fallen celestial dragon with sudden and unannounced fear. Saint Figureland Garling sat near the fallen celestial dragon, checked its pulse, and then rendered his judgment. Prepare for the final farewell weather for Saint Manyard. Execute all his personal guards. The supreme commander of the God's Knights said with an indifferent tone. Upon hearing that, the personal guards rushed to the deeper part of the art store and refused to leave. Seeing this, Saint Figureland Garling looked with regret at the personal guards who clearly sought to take advantage of protecting the art store. Well, they would be forcibly expelled when the store closed, so he wasn't really concerned. Saint Figureland Garling stood and gazed at the celestial dragons who were still terrified by the sudden death of a celestial dragon in front of them. Boa Hancock is the adopted daughter of the Sky Sword, Rob. Desiring to enslave her and saying it out loud inside his art store means literally asking for death. Be cautious not to anger him, he does not differentiate between humans and gods, they are all equal to him. Once he finished speaking, he turned and returned to his previous position, and from time to time, his eyes sparkled with a strange gleam. Did she suffer a lot during that time? Inside his private section in the Amazon Lily art store, Rob was still narrating the story to Little Hancock and the others directly from the manga book. Suffering, though bitter and unwelcome, is not necessarily devoid of benefits, Rob replied with a mysterious smile. What benefits? Little Hancock asked, puzzled. Well, she becomes stronger through that harsh experience, but that doesn't mean I wanted her to go through it. Rob continued to talk about the harsh experience of the three sisters as slaves to the celestial dragons. The more Little Hancock and her sisters heard, the more frightened and saddened they became. The same went for Robin and Yamato, who had undergone a similar experience with Kaido. I hate a life where you're not present, father. Hancock cried while saying that. We do too. Mari and Sonia had the same reaction. Seeing this, Rob sighed with a smile before gently hugging them. Well, when despair is the only thing present, the hero arrives, bringing hope. The children's eyes brightened when they heard that. One Piece events. So it's true that you raised your hand against a Tenryubito? Hancock asked, trembling at this moment. I had no idea an idiot like you still existed in this world. With no regard for your own life, you challenged heaven itself, just like he did. As she said that, Hancock hid her tears with her hands. Luffy was drawn to this point. I will tell you everything, as well as the meaning of the symbol engraved into your friend's brow. Hancock decided to tell him everything. Hachi's mark, said Luffy. This is the hoof of the soaring dragon, the crest of the Tenryubito. It is branded into every slave owned by the world nobles. It is indelible proof that you are less than human. The Tenryubito. Luffy recalled the three disgusting faces of the celestial dragons he had seen before. We three sisters were once slaves to the world nobles. Hancock revealed the shocking truth. Ohara. Veins appeared on Doflamingo's forehead during the events of this scene. This indicates that he was very angry. Not just him, even Rosinante and Enel felt the same. This is not unexpected, but it leaves a bad taste in my mouth when it actually happens, Daffy said with a cold tone. This has nothing to do with us, right, brother? Rosinante wiped away the tears that overcame him while reading about Hancock's harsh past and asked his older brother. Since we are connected by blood to these scum, it means it has a direct relationship to us. That's what angers me. Suddenly, I feel like I want to shred a celestial dragon with my threads. He said coldly. An imperceptible shiver ran through Daffy's body as the center, but it was quickly controlled and suppressed by the laws of the art store. During this, their father, the former celestial dragon, Saint Homing, looked in their direction. He could feel the cold shiver, the same one he felt on that dark day when he and his family were almost killed in spider miles if it weren't for Rob arriving in time and saving them. The more he read about Hancock's past, the more he felt that their exposure to almost being killed by angry people was completely justified. This is by no means your fault, Homing-san. Don't blame yourself just because you were a celestial dragon in the past. At this moment, Professor Clover comforted him. Chapter 593, Hancock's Past. Fisher Tiger appears. One Piece events. At the age of 12, the three of us were abducted from the Kuja pirate ship and sold. Hancock began narrating her painful past. After that, I don't even want to think about the abominable things they did. In the background of the story, a dark-featured celestial dragon can be seen holding an iron with a dragon hoof mark and placing it on her fair back. The wicked smile on his face was incredibly terrifying. The first man I ever saw was nothing but a ball of terror. After hearing her sister recount their painful memories, Sonia couldn't control herself and started screaming. You. Wah. Ah. Sister Sonia. Calm down. Mari tried to soothe her. Hey. It's fine, don't force yourself. You don't have to talk about it. Seeing this, Luffy felt uneasy. Now that I've started, I can't stop. It was terrible, we couldn't find any hope at all. I just wanted to die. Hancock continued, her eyes glazed. Whoa, come on. Luffy was shocked. But after 4 years, in one night, an incident occurred that shook the world government itself. The iron law of the world was that nobody could oppose the Tenryubito. Yet one man climbed the red line with his bare hands and entered Marihoa, where the Tenryubito resided. In the background, a red-skinned fishman with a fierce expression appeared, saying these words to Hancock and her sisters, "Run. Don't get caught again." That man would later lead a crew of fishermen pirates. The adventurer, Fisher Tiger. In order to free the many fishermen slaves who were being oppressed in the city, he rampaged through the city with all his strength, and even though he, a fisherman, hated humans, he did not discriminate. He freed thousands of slaves, of all races. In the background, 16-year-old Hancock and her sisters were seen running away from the burning Marihoa behind them. We ran, prepared to die. We owe that man an unfathomable debt. Thus, I understand. Shakuyaki closed her eyes calmly, pondering something strange. How were Hancock, Sonia, and Mari strangely neglected from the Kuja ship? Maybe they weren't neglected but rather sold by the Empress, who was also the captain of the Kuja at that time. Certainly, Gloriosa and Kikyu weren't either. Well, an unknown Empress. Shaki stopped thinking about this matter and looked at the rest of the store goddesses who were deeply moved by the fate of the three sisters. The same goes for the Amazons who were cursing the celestial dragons angrily in the global forum. Shaki refocused on the events of the chapter. There was still something significant that caught her interest. Fisher Tiger. This man, I know him. It's him. He did it. Belmir's tearful eyes widened when she saw Fisher Tiger in the background. This man. He's that powerful young fishman. Even Alvia couldn't help but feel shocked after experiencing the despair and sorrow for the fate of her 3 children. Tiger, exclaimed Otoheim, even more astonished than the others. After all, she was the most aware of Tiger. This man was formerly the famous captain of King Neptune's royal guard, but due to a dispute with the royal family, he stepped down and began living in Fishman district, where he cared for orphans. Despite the fear the citizens of Ryugu Kingdom had for him and describing him as a traitor, Otoheim wasn't afraid of him at all. She knew that his fierce appearance was entirely different from his kind essence. How could a man who took care of homeless children be evil? What a great man! He climbed the red line with his bare hands and saved thousands of slaves from the most dangerous place in the world. This is truly unbelievable. Shaki couldn't keep her composure anymore. After all, what Fisher Tiger did, or more precisely, what Fisher Tiger did in the manga, shocked the entire world. Fishman Island. 10,000 meters below the sea surface, every fishman shouted the name Fisher Tiger repeatedly. The reader's excitement reached record levels. Only the fishmen themselves could describe their current feelings. It was a mixture of pride, honor, and a strong desire to cry due to overwhelming emotions. What was depicted in the manga not only represented Fisher Tiger but all the fishmen. Like Fisher Tiger, that buried desire deep within each of them, who lacked the ability and sufficient sadness to act. Finally, in One Piece manga, as a hero, emerged from them and did that thing they always wanted to do and could never do for one reason or another. On his way to the art store, the strong young Fisher Tiger could hear cheers for a certain name, sounding somewhat familiar. When he got close enough, he heard it. Isn't this my name? Why are they cheering for my name? Confusion deepened on Tiger's face, especially when Jinbe came out, having received news of his arrival, to greet him with a big smile. Elder brother Tiger. You must not have finished reading the later chapters yet, right? Jinbe looked at Tiger's hand holding the closed volume. Yes. Fisher Tiger nodded in surprise. That's why you seem confused. Well, congratulations, elder brother, on your first appearance in One Piece manga. Your heroic and splendid appearance. Jinbe said with extreme enthusiasm. My appearance in the manga, me? Tiger's eyes widened as he quickly opened the volume. After reading the entire volume, mixed feelings appeared in Tiger's eyes. Suddenly, he remembered that day and the words, without explanation, that the human, Rob, said to him. Why are you doing this? He's just a child. Despite his intense hatred for humans, there's justification for it, can't you see that too? This was Tiger's question to Rob about the Arlong arc, which deeply dug into the rift between humans and fishmen at that time. Don't worry, Tiger. One day, you will be the one to fill the pit and correct the mistakes of the youngsters. What you will do in the future, your character, your efforts, and your entire presence will be like the healing medicine for your race. You will become the greatest in the hearts of all slaves, only the sun god will be above you. These were the words Rob replied with to Tiger's frustration at that time, years ago. Now, Tiger understood them only now, although he didn't fully understand all of them yet. Do I deserve this honor? Fisher Tiger silently wondered. Chapter 594, The Sun Pirate's Background. Marigoa, Pangaea Castle. How can this be? The Gorosei Warkuri's mustache trembled after reading the shocking backstory of Hancock. He could only stare at his comrades in bewilderment. So, Boa Hancock and her sisters were slaves in Marigoa? What a shocking revelation! Cough. The same went for the Gorosei Mars, who coughed on his coffee in sheer shock. TSK, mere slaves daring to act with such audacity. The Gorosei Jupiter felt a pleasant satisfaction upon learning about Hancock's background. Mockery was all he could muster. What's the deal with this fishman? How can this be dash? Before Saint Saturn could finish his sentence, his eyes widened in shock as he discovered what Fisher Tiger had done. Unacceptable. Pa! At that moment, Saint Ethan Barron slammed the table in anger. After all, seeing Marigoa ablaze and engulfed in chaos was nothing short of a desecration by Rob. We warned him at the time not to touch the dignity of the world government, but apparently, he didn't heed our words, did he? And who is this damned Fisher Tiger? How in hell did a mere fish manage to cause all this chaos in Marigoa? Even if he surpassed all Cypher Pole agents from CP9 to CP1, he surely couldn't surpass CP0. Even if he could miraculously do that, he wouldn't be able to do as he pleased under the noses of the Holy Knights. Is it reasonable that they were on a mission? Well, if we assume that's true, what about us Gorosei? It's impossible for a mere fishman to cause chaos under our noses and Lord Imasama's. It's illogical nonsense. The 5 Gorosei were completely perplexed by the fact that a one fishman like Fisher Tiger could cause chaos in Marigoa, liberating thousands of slaves and escaping unscathed. Fufu, interesting. Was the fellow in that universe asleep or something? At that moment, Imu's voice echoed as she strolled into the castle, referring to her counterpart in the manga. Welcome back, Imu-sama. The 5 Gorosei stood and greeted their lord with respect. You may sit. I hear a commotion outside. What is happening? She asked. Upon hearing their lord's question, Saint Saturn nervously replied, recalling what had happened moments ago. A member of the Maynard family had a heart attack inside the art store. He died immediately after declaring his intentions to enslave Hancock, the Sky Sword's adopted daughter. Fufu, foolish puppet. Imu's response was indifferent. Ohara. Fisher Tiger, what a great man. I want to meet this man with a kind spirit. I also want to meet him. He is one of the heroes of the past in the manga. Surely, the manga will highlight his heroism someday in the Fishman Island arc. Homing was certain of that. Seeing how a hero from the Fishman race and a villain like mere humans, claiming to be descendants of the creators, were portrayed, Homing felt a profound narrative wisdom in this, so he expected Fisher Tiger to be a significant character in the mentioned Fishman Island arc. The brave adventurer Fisher Tiger has not started his adventures yet, so we can find him on Fishman Island, right? Saul suggested. Good idea. I've always wanted to visit Fishman Island after it was linked to the miraculous Skyport, but I haven't found the right time yet. It seems the time has come. Professor Clover cheered. So, this is why the Sun Pirates were founded? The Sun is the most fitting title for pirates formed from the remnants of slaves. Vegapunk felt excited after recalling a certain legendary figure. One Piece events. Tiger freed many fishmen who escaped to sea. But the slaves' brands could not be erased. Hancock continued speaking. Tiger, who had made an enemy of the world government, formed the Sun Pirates with those former slaves, and they set out to sea, she added. In the background, a fishman slave appeared with a dragon hoof mark, which had a second mark burned onto it, representing the sun. And, as if he was lifting a curse, the Tenryubito's mark that had been burned onto everyone's bodies was changed into the symbol of the sun. The mark you mistook for ours was the sun symbol of the Fishman Pirates, she announced. Ah, I get it. The mark on Hachi's forehead looked like the sun. Luffy remembered the mark on Hachi's forehead and connected it to Hancock's story. So was he a slave, too, he asked. We can't say that for certain. They were given those symbols so that you couldn't tell the difference between those who had been slaves and those who weren't. Though he was definitely a member of the Sun Pirates. Marigold explained everything to Luffy. By the way, Fisher Tiger is dead now. The Fishman Pirates have split into a number of pirate crews. Elder Nyan stated clearly. Hachi's been through a lot. Luffy decided after hearing all of that. Back to Fishman Island. So, he's dead, that's expected. The world government won't tolerate such a thing, they won't rest until they kill you. Fisher Tiger's expression didn't change upon discovering his counterpart's death in the manga. That was expected in his eyes. Well, you've given meaning to your life and died as a true man. I look forward to seeing how you lived from here on and how you died as well. Sniff. I look forward, truly. Fisher Tiger wiped his tears, but they refused to stop. Every time he wiped them, they only increased in intensity. Here, sir. Fisher Tiger opened his blurry eyes and found 3 little girls approaching him. A small, beautiful girl offered him a white towel with a gentle smile on her face. My father said you're a great hero. Chapter 595. Garp joins the Revolutionary Army. One Piece events. Strangely enough, while we were slaves, we were forced to eat the marrow and hebe fruits as entertainment. Hancock recalled some additional details and told Luffy the reason for their success in deceiving everyone after the escape. And thanks to those powers, we were able to fool the country and protect our secret. If you hadn't covered up Sonia's back, we wouldn't have been able to stay on this island. We can't let anybody know about our past. Her tears wet her face again when she said that. Her crying was a sign of the death of the former ice goddess. Even if we have to deceive an entire country, I'll never show any weaknesses. I won't be controlled by anybody ever again. Hearing that, Luffy's expression stiffened. I'm afraid to let my guard down again against anybody. I can't face my own fear. Hick. At that moment, she looked like a broken doll. Anyone who saw the scene would instinctively want to protect her. Sister. Both Sonia and Mari cried as well. But, it's been a while since you've let your emotions show like this. Recently, it's as if Lady Hebeheim had been turned to ice. Gloriosa intervened at this moment to dispel the gloomy atmosphere. Silence, you traitor, exclaimed Hancock. You be silent. You escaped the Tenryubito only to find you had no way of returning to the island. You were just 3 lost, hurt little girls. Gloriosa was angry, so she quickly reminded them of who helped them return. Just who do you think brought you back here? It's all because I was living in the outside world. Humph. You're blowing things out of proportion. Snorted Hancock. What? Exclaimed Gloriosa. I've been looking after you like a mother. After saying that, Hancock asked Luffy without looking at him. Do you despise me for being a slave? I told you I hate the Tenryubito, didn't I? Luffy's response was clear. This delighted Hancock, who regained her smile. Fufufu, I've taken a liking to you. Tell me where you want to go. I'll lend you my ship. Really? Luffy was pleasantly surprised. Fusha Town. Inside the art store, silence prevailed at this moment, until it was broken by a very familiar laughter. Boahahaha. What a good grandson he is. Look how he managed to make stunning beauty fall for him. That's a little less than the splendor of his grandfather. Back when I met your mother, I had no thoughts of pursuing her. She was the one chasing me. Garp looked at Dragon with pride and superiority as he said that. Dragon shivered imperceptibly as he remembered his mother, but quickly regained his cold expression. It's not like she fell for him, she just told him that she admired him. Dragon's response was straightforward. Tisk, boring. By the way, this man called Fisher Tiger, you need someone like him in your revolutionary army. Garp's voice was low as he whispered those important words. The other members nodded after hearing Garp's suggestion. Since the moment I saw what he did, I had already decided. He's a great man. I won't hesitate to embrace him for our cause. I won't allow the death of such a hero. Dragon declared in a low voice as well. Good. Kuma, Ivankov, and even Crocodile felt relieved after hearing Dragon's confirmation. And, as you can see, the celestial dragons use devil fruits as entertainment by feeding them to slaves. It's a tradition for them. It's a waste of war resources. Now, with the appearance of what they call treasure rooms, this habit has started to recede a bit. You can use this to your advantage. Although Dragon found his arrival very annoying, he did not deny the usefulness of his father Garp for him and the Revolutionary Army. From time to time, Garp gave him valuable insights without boasting about his overwhelming strength. How's that? Dragon asked. By my joining in your alliance with the Sky Sword, this allows you to openly appear as an official organization instead of staying in the shadows. You can create your own treasure rooms. Fishman Island. These young girls, they resemble Hancock and her sisters. Tiger was surprised to see little Hancock, Mari, and Sonia looking at him with smiles, while little Hancock offered him a handkerchief to wipe his tears. That's kind of you, little girl. Who is your father? Tiger took the handkerchief from her hand, trying to put a smile on his face with a hint of exhaustion. My father owns this store and is the author of that manga in your hands. Hancock pointed to the floor beneath her and then to the book in Tiger's hands. You mean Rob-san? That's right. I'm Hancock, this is my sister Sander Sonia, and this is my younger sister Marigold. Hancock. Sander Sonia and Marigold, why are these names so familiar? Tiger began to look at the children and then at the manga page, repeatedly, until he was convinced. You are their counterparts in reality, right? Tiger showed a specific manga page and pointed uncertainly to Hancock, Mari, and Sonia. That's right. Hancock's answer was direct. You are the counterpart of Fisher Tiger who saved them from the enslavement of the celestial dragons. That's why my father called you a hero. You are really a hero in our eyes, too. I haven't done anything yet to deserve the title of hero, little girl. Nevertheless, my father said that doesn't mean you don't possess a heroic spirit. My father told me to give you this instead of him because he has work to do. Hancock handed Tiger what seemed to be a golden invitation, which he took with a puzzled expression. Invitation to enter the closed beta of the dungeon. What is this? Tiger didn't understand anything. Amazon Lily. Alvia wiped away the last tears shed due to Hancock and her sister's painful story. When Hancock cried and said she was afraid of being controlled again, Alvia felt like her world was collapsing. She wanted to enter the world of manga and give her a warm hug, reassuring her that it would never happen. Her current feeling was no less than what she felt when she read about her real daughter Robin's past at that time. Hancock, Mari, and Sonia also suffered a lot. To be slaves of the celestial dragons, that's the cruelest thing in life, Alvia said. Yes, they were fortunate to escape. Without that man from Fishman race, they would have lived and died in agony. Belmira expressed complex emotions. She hadn't felt that yet, but all the remaining negative feelings toward the Fishman race from the Arlong arc had been completely washed away. Tiger, he honored the Fishman race in the best possible way. A bright smile appeared on the beautiful and gentle mermaid, Otoheim. Well, it seems Luffy is definitely enjoying his time on the women's island. Fufufu, the women who haven't had the chance to interact with a male before will devour him, and there won't be anything left of him, even bones, because of his scent as a male. Come on, girls. It's time to get back to work. Shaki announced after laughing at the scene of Luffy at the party with the women of Amazon Lily. Chapter 596. Luffy reads the newspaper. Ha ha ha. It's funny to see Luffy escaping from a crowd of hungry women in such a humiliating way. Ha ha ha. He hasn't forgotten about food as usual. Look at the size of the piece of meat he took with him. There's no heavy food for Luffy. Margaret is very beautiful too. Oh my god, she really looks exactly like me. Marlin didn't finish her sentence before her mistress spoke. My counterpart in the manga is finally talking to Luffy alone. Could she finally tell him about the events in the newspaper? Although Blora didn't like her appearance in the manga, which Luffy described as Old Bean Lady, she didn't hate her manga counterpart because of aging. She was somewhat looking forward to knowing the extent of her impact on current events despite being just an old woman on the brink of death. That's what really happened. What? Didn't Luffy even know that Hancock is a Shichibukai? The eyes of the store's goddesses widened after seeing the series of subsequent events. One Piece events. It has been 11 years since Hebiheim became the empress of our country, as well as the captain of the Kuja pirates. At this moment, Gloriosa informs Luffy about how Hancock became the Shichibukai. She's still young, but after a single campaign at sea, an 80 million bounty was placed on her head. That, along with the already infamous Kuja name, alerted the world government immediately. Gloriosa continued, expressing her concerns. They cautiously recommended that Hebiheim be added to the Shichibukai, but now, she is in danger of losing her title. Aha! Wait, this is too much for me to handle all at once. The Shichibukai and Marine Headquarters are going to fight with the Whitebeard pirates. What the hell is going on? Luffy was heavily shocked after hearing the news for the first time. You amaze me. There's got to be a limit to how ignorant a person can be. This is nothing but a prediction right now. But in all likelihood, a battle is imminent. Even Gloriosa felt speechless at Luffy's ignorance. She continued, saying, the world government caused this. Whitebeard is not a man who would let one of his men die. They know that. But they still plan to give Port Gasti Ace, Whitebeard's trusted subordinate, a public execution. Hearing that, Luffy, who was peacefully eating and drinking, froze. Who? Ace? Fire Fist Ace. She added. What's wrong? Margaret asked with concern after seeing the astonished expression on Luffy's face. Luffy started to sweat. Ace is going to be executed. Apparently, a pirate named Blackbeard defeated Fire Fist Ace and became a new Shichibukai. Gloriosa added some details. Blackbeard, Luffy said in astonishment. The government suddenly gained a major chip in the way of the pirate Ace, and they plan to use it in a big way. Lady. Old lady. Luffy interrupted her, seeming like he had gone mad. That's my big brother. Ace is my brother. Airbaz Island. Luffy seems to have finally realized the current situation. Rouge bit her lower lip after seeing Luffy's crazy reaction to the news. Just as I expected. Luffy will go to rescue him. The question here is, will he succeed? He will succeed, assuming your intervention in the war as well. Red-haired, Roger looked at Shanks before saying teasingly. I don't think my counterpart will fail to intervene. I won't allow any harm to come to Ace and Luffy, Shanks replied enthusiastically. Ha ha. It seems you trust yourself a lot. I mean your counterpart in the manga, even though he doesn't appear much. Rayleigh laughed before hitting Shanks on the back. Yes, Rayleigh-san. This is the captain's son after all, and coincidentally, his younger brother is the boy my counterpart bet on. That's why you're sure about joining this war? Ishun, that seems logical. Well, I just hope no monsters from your era get in your way. Roger nodded before saying. In truth, Roger didn't believe Shanks would participate in the war, despite knowing all the details. For reasons known only to him, he refused to disclose them. I hope the war goes according to the logic of the protagonist, and his allies prevail in the end. Knowing that Luffy will also participate, I feel a little relieved. Despite hearing those words from her husband, Rouge didn't feel any comfort, her concern only grew. What if Ace's purpose was to sharpen the protagonist of the story in the first place? Rouge did not accept such a fate for her poor son. Ohara. It seems events are escalating, Hawk. What do you think of seeing yourself used as a tool of war in the hands of the world government? Since the participation of the 7 warlords in the Summit War was confirmed, the saga named after it means Isho didn't say it without reason. Mihawk looked at the man in front of him for a while before answering calmly, even if I'm used as a war tool, it will be on my terms and according to my whims. Mihawk's response was cold. Ho ho, that's convincing. Isho laughed before adding, I look forward to seeing how your counterpart, known as the strongest swordsman, fares against the strongest man in the world. That will be, how should I describe it, truly a scene everyone looks forward to seeing. It will be a war of the highest level. The war will change the course of history. Although I also look forward to such an epic, I feel sorrow for that world, Mihawk said. I do too, but what can we do? The war will happen inevitably. It will be the foundation for a larger, more impactful war, the foundation for a war of change. At that moment, Rob arrived and said expressionlessly, Welcome back, sir. Hawk, Isho, and Mihawk stood with reverence. Don't mind, continue enjoying your time. Remember, the world of manga may not affect the current world much, but it reflects the true nature of each of us. War is war, people die in war. There's no need for exaggerated despair, Rob said and left the art store. Chapter 597, The Confident Whitebeard. One Piece Events. Really? He's your brother. Gloriosa was also taken aback after hearing Luffy. I didn't even know he was caught, and he's going to be executed. Can't he escape? Luffy asked, feeling scared and confused. You hum. If Whitebeard wins this fight, he might be saved. Gloriosa commented on the possibility of Whitebeard winning. What do I do? Where's the execution going to take place? Luffy wanted enough information to decide his next move. Right, it's in a town plaza called Marineford, owned by Marine Headquarters. In 1 week, so about 6 days from now. Gloriosa looked at a paper and conveyed its contents to him. Wah! That's so soon. How long does it take to get to Sabaody from here? Luffy asked. Well, you can assume it'll take at least a week. If it takes that long, then, before I even meet my friends, it'll be all over for Ace. Luffy changed plans immediately and asked. Then, how long from here to where Ace is? To the prison of Impel Down, on a pirate ship, 1 week, on one of the marine ships, 4 days. Luffy was surprised after hearing that and exclaimed, "Why? Are marine ships that fast?" There are special currents for the world government. Enies Lobby, Impel Down, and Marine Headquarters. These 3 places are connected by a big current. At each place, big gates called the Gates of Justice can be opened, allowing access to these 3 spots. In other words, if the gate is closed, you'd just be going with the current. Gloriosa explained slowly, and a picture illustrating how the 3 gates of justice connect the 3 world government places appeared in the background. To avoid the swirling current, pirate ships have to take a roundabout path. Luffy pulled out a burned paper from his hat and was surprised at its condition. Ace is on his own adventure. It's weird that I have to save my brother, who's so strong. Ace would probably get mad at me. But, sorry, guys. I'm gonna take a little detour. Luffy apologized to his crew before shouting, "I wanna go help Ace." In the New World Sea, Moby Dick sailed smoothly through the raging waves, surrounded by an invisible force that shielded it from the towering waves, each dozens of meters high. The strange thing was that on the surface of the ship, not a single member of the Whitebeard pirates could be seen, as if Moby Dick had transformed into a ghost ship. In reality, this scene was not new at all. After all, it could easily be explained by the familiar store at the back of the ship. Inside the art store Moby Dick, the voices of enthusiastic and angry men and women echoed. They were all members of the Whitebeard pirates and some of their affiliated crews. Garararara! This boy, Straw Hat Luffy, impresses me repeatedly. What a good brother he is. Newgate's mood was very good, although he felt weakly that the war declared against his counterpart the old man was not a good thing. At least for him, he knew and firmly believed that he would gladly sacrifice his life to save his son. That was the essence of his character, the Great Whitebeard. Oh Yaji! The war will start just 1 week in the manga timeline. I'm extremely excited. I'll see how strong I am in the future. Young Marco was extremely excited, evident from his clear expression. I'll be stronger than you, Hemph. Jozo struck his fists together, causing sparks to fly. You must be kidding, Jozu, ha ha ha. Calm down, comrades. We don't know much about what will happen in the future. Perhaps new brothers stronger than both of you will join us. Who knows? Silence, you two. Vistas silenced both of them. Well, if Odin stayed with us. Wait. Maybe Odin-san will help us in the war. He's very strong, just a little below Oyaji. In the future, he'll become even more powerful. Newgate remembered that foolish shogun who was like a younger brother to him, not a son. But he quickly dismissed the possibility of his involvement. In a world where that brat doesn't exist, I don't think it'll be easy for him to drive Kaido out of Wano. Even if he succeeds, he'll have to stay in Wano to protect it from Kaido. These were Whitebeard's unspoken thoughts. Your son will be big and very strong by then. He won't allow you to enter the war alone. Don't forget about Weevil Kuan. At that moment, Buckingham Stussy grabbed Whitebeard's hand and spoke with a warm tone. Gararararara. Whitebeard laughed slowly before continuing. Do you all forget who I am? I am Whitebeard, I don't need anyone to help me. I'll save my son with my strength alone. If they really want to provoke me, then Sengoku must prepare to bear the cost of building a new marine fort. In the maritime outskirts of the Hunters Archipelago, near the Wano region, a black wooden boat quietly approached Ring Hell Island. The sailboat was empty and was quickly shattered by the waves on the southern side of the Hunters Island. Ouch, that hurts. The voice came from the shattered sailboat on the rocks. Like the stickiest glue, the broken black boat turned into a broken wooden boat after losing its black color. Then a black shadow leaped onto a nearby rock and began moving upward towards the island. This way, the shadow disappeared into the depths of the Hunters Island. Its goal was to sneak into the central prison, which was also in the southern part of the island. The Black Shadow infiltrated all security barriers without triggering any security alerts and successfully entered the prison. Ohara. After finishing narrating the story of Empress Amazon Lily to his young children, cleverly avoiding the deadly disease part that affected the Empress at the end of the volume, Rob returned to Ohara to check on his pregnant wives. Then, when he wanted to go to Hunter's Island to take care of the intruders, he received a notice from the system shop. It seems that a new chapter has come out. That's good too. Finally, I will see what kind of powers Saturn possesses. The last chapter of the One Piece manga he read had reached an exciting stage of events in the future island, Egghead Arc. After the dull battle between Luffy and Kizaru ended in a draw, Saint Saturn finally entered the battle. And his devilish spider bull-like form was very intriguing. Chapter 598, Love Sickness. One Piece Events. She holds her chest, so I thought something might be wrong with her heart. Belladonna was concerned about Hancock's health. But I don't get it. I've never seen this before. I don't know what medicine to give. Lady Hebeheim looks like she's suffering. She won't eat, Inishida, Hancock's servant, added. I see. How did this happen? What bad timing. Damn virus. Gloriosa sighed and frowned. Ha! A virus. Do you know what it is? Elder Nyan, it hurts. Ha! Am I going to die? Hancock, visibly with a high fever, felt her heart ache. Yes, you will die, Gloriosa replied firmly. What? What are you saying? Stop joking, Elder Nyan, exclaimed Marigold. The previous empress died of this disease. The empress before her had the same sickness. I had it too and left the country, but I survived, Gloriosa sighed before asking. Hebeheim, Monkey D, Luffy came with me. He has a request. Will you hear it? Wait, Elder Nyan. How can my sister handle that now? At that moment, Hancock stood as if she had recovered. I don't care. Listen, you will all leave the room. Ha! You stood up. Everyone in the room was shocked. What luck you have, Monkey D, Luffy. Could you have moved the mountain that no one else could? Gloriosa marveled silently. Amazon Lily. Since the events of the current arc were confined to the Women's Island, it is certain that its inhabitants were extremely enthusiastic. This was perfectly clear from their expressions and involuntary movements while eagerly flipping through the pages of the volume. When the events reached this point, every Amazon woman felt complete astonishment. Why did Hebeheim fall ill at such a critical moment? The disease seems deadly from the chapter title. Hebeheim can't die from an illness, can she? Even Chopper, who has hope of treating her, is not here. Oh my, what will happen next? It's impossible for Hebeheim-sama to die, she's incredibly strong and beautiful. Why does Elder Nyan insist that Hebeheim will definitely die? This is worrisome. Why did she suddenly stop after hearing that Luffy has a request for her? Initially, the Kuja women were concerned about Hancock's well-being, but they were all shocked after seeing the development of the events. They couldn't understand why Hancock, who had just fallen seriously sickness, would suddenly stop after hearing Luffy's request. That? Fufufu, it's that illness, isn't it? Shaki winked at Gloriosa after understanding what was happening, and her laughter had a teasing tone. I had the same illness in the past. At that time, I would have surely died if Rob had rejected me. Gloriosa said without shame. From her explanation, everyone understood what was happening in the manga. Don't tell me, she fell in love with him. Alvia's eyes widened after understanding the situation and reading the next few scenes in the manga. Oh, how fortunate he is. He truly deserves the title of the protagonist. Why did she fall in love with him? Is it because he's the only man who listened to her story and allowed her to vent all her grievances? That's very possible. Bella added. I wonder how Rob managed to draw such an exciting development in the events. I also wonder how many pens broke in the process, Fufufu Shaki laughed heartily when she remembered Rob's situation as Hancock's adoptive parent. This Luffy hasn't been born yet, but he's causing all these intense waves. Even Otoheim felt the complexity of the situation. Ohara. Rob's forehead trembled as he listened to the reader's whispers about the exciting turn of events. Despite that, he maintained a calm demeanor and walked away from the art store. He wanted to find a quiet place to enjoy the new chapter that had just been released before dealing with Moria and whoever was with him. Well, it's not like she'll fall in love with Luffy in this world too. Rob calmed himself on his way back to the palace. Inside the art store Ohara, everyone was in a state of shock. The drink spilled from Brooke's mouth, who was deeply shocked at this moment. Impossible. How lucky he is. She really loves him. Brooke's eyes, which were about to pop out of their sockets, reflected this scene. So you want me to answer the order to assemble as a Shichibukai? Hancock ignored her sister's exclamations about Luffy and continued talking to him gently. Is that your desire? Then I will go wherever you wish. Her eyes shone with deep love as she said that. Luffy's face showed great joy. Great. Thank you. Now I can make it before the execution date. Hearing that, Mari, Sonia, and Gloriosa felt like their souls were leaving their bodies due to the shock. Hebeheim. She decided to go with the government. What's going on? Elder Nyan. Both Sonia and Mari exclaimed. Hebeheim's disease is love sickness. The previous empresses died pining for love as well. They have this saying in the East Sea. Love is always a hurricane. It's really a hurricane. Seriously. I didn't expect something like this. Does this mean she'll die because of this love disease? After all, it's Luffy. Of course, it's Luffy. Wait. Professor Clover's eyes widened after understanding the meaning of "it's Luffy." Oh no. Hancock-chan is in danger. Luffy knows nothing about love. He won't reciprocate the same feelings even in 100 lifetimes. He loves meat only. Love? This type of feeling can be explained scientifically. It's just a rare chemical reaction at the mental level, easily solvable through science as well. Vegapunk adjusted his glasses before giving his opinion, ignoring the horror expressions on his colleagues' faces. Chapter 599, Departure from Amazon Lily to Impel Down. One Piece Events. What is happening to me? I can't even think of refusing Luffy's request. Going to the Central Sea all of a sudden, but I have a bad feeling about this. Inside her room, Hancock shyly wondered why she couldn't refuse Luffy's request. That's love. The unbearable suffering you feel will weaken your body and eventually lead to your demise. The person who had just answered her was Gloriosa, also known as Elder Nyan, who continued, saying, the previous empresses tried to suppress their feelings. And that destroyed them. Your decision to go with that man will save your life. Although she didn't show it, Gloriosa was happy that Hancock agreed to fulfill Luffy's request because it meant she would also accept the world government's request. And if going to the Central Sea protects your status as a Shichibukai, protect this country as well, and it will also help Monkey D. Luffy. Hancock listened in silence. Under what star was he born? Normally, no pirate would even think of going to the Great Prison, let alone actually do it, unless they were captured. For her, Luffy's courage was so great that it was indescribable. Fusha Town. He has really decided to go to Impel Down. I wonder how Sengoku's expression will be at this moment. Boahahaha. It will be fun to see him for sure. Purupurupuru asterisk at that very moment, Garp's small den mushy suddenly rang. It can't be Sengoku calling, can it? Garp's eyes narrowed as he answered the call. Garp, you bastard fool. Listen to me. The sound coming from the den mushy was so loud that it hurt the listener's ears. It's really Sengoku. Garp became speechless. Listen to me, you must prevent Dragon from having Luffy at any cost, gotcha. Garp closed the Den Den Mushi before Sengoku could finish his sentence. Ridiculous. He's asking me to prevent my grandson from being born. And here I thought he missed me and wanted me to come back, humph. Upon hearing that, Dragon's forehead trembled, and even Kuma and the others were completely speechless. You should have told him to go to hell. Dragon's response was harsh, as, after all, he despised Sengoku, whom he considered a major hypocrite. Well, let's get back to our topic. You told me that the reason for your insistence on Kuma joining was to protect him from the world government due to his unique bloodline and his past as a slave, right? As he said this, Garp looked towards Kuma and then to Ivankov. Does this also apply to him? Garp didn't fancy this strange man with unconventional sexual orientation, but he still accepted him due to his past. After all, Garp had become the guardian of the Revolutionary Army. A rank not present in the original story. A guardian with Yonko-level strength. Ivankov trembled after Garp's intimidating gaze, but he managed to control his fear. Yes. Dragon nodded in response to his father's question, confirming the fact that Ivankov was also a slave in the past. Weird, two slaves have become kings for some reason, that is if we exclude Hancock in the manga, who also became a ruler despite her background as a celestial dragon slave. Garp referred to King of Sorbet Kuma and King of Kamabaka Ivankov. Both were slaves in the past. Even Kuma's story was more tragic, as, in some way, he returned to the grip of the world government and became a Cold War machine. This happened in the manga, but it hadn't happened yet in reality. Is there a specific reason why the world government is pursuing after him? Maybe his bloodline, which exhibits giant-like features, harboring undisclosed secrets. Garp wondered internally about Kuma's background. After all, Kuma refused to clarify his past precisely due to its horrifying nature. The available information they got was from Ivankov, who knew Kuma since childhood, as they managed to escape from the celestial dragons together. Precisely on the day when he collaborated with Roger to kill Rox in the God Valley. Well, the despicable tradition of hunting humans carried out by the celestial dragons that coincided with the incident in the God Valley was one of the reasons that made Garp hate the celestial dragons to the bone. Don't talk, one day the manga will reveal everything about you, maybe on that day, the cause of your misery will be in the dead category for a long time. Hearing that, Kuma sighed and then smiled for the first time in years. Well, why do I have a feeling that the appearance of my counterpart in the manga is approaching? At this moment, Crocodile spoke. Assume your counterpart is imprisoned in Impel Down. Luffy is going there to rescue Ace, maybe he'll smack your butt again in prison. Ivankov laughed after successfully taunting Crocodile again. Be quiet, you fucker. Who asked for your opinion? Exclaimed Crocodile. Please call me Hancock. Hancock gently placed her hand on her cheek and looked to the side while smiling with embarrassment. Kaya, Whiteheart, the women who saw this reaction from their empress went almost mad. Okay. Got it, Han Mok. As usual, Luffy always gets names wrong. It's Hancock. Hancock confirmed. L. Lady Hebeheim smiled. How many carats was that brilliant smile? Almost all the fans fainted. A woman in love. Foo. There was a time when I looked like that as well, Whiteheart. Gloriosa said with emotion, recalling her past as a beautiful empress. Ha! Elder Nyan, you don't look so well. The curious woman Narine shattered Gloriosa's imagination harshly. Be quiet! Exclaimed Gloriosa. Amazon Lily. BFT. Alvia and the others held their laughter while looking at Gloriosa, who was reading the manga with a stiff expression. Fufu, well, this is the time your counterpart in the manga refers to, you are now at the peak of your beauty. Shaki sincerely praised. Indeed, no one can tie you to Elder Nyan in the manga but us. As she said this, Alvia gestured to herself and the rest of the store goddesses and Rob's wives. No problem for me to be tied to Elder Nyan, see, even I got an account verification badge as Elder Nyan on the global forum. After hearing that, all the women went to check Gloriosa's account, and they found that it was indeed true. So Alvia's previous words became meaningless. Everyone could know it now. Luffy is just a big idiot. He calls Hancock Hammock. Ha 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 ha. Belmere imagined the expression on little Hancock's face when she sees this. Everyone loves Hancock, who looks like a beautiful porcelain doll at her current age. After all, she ate the love fruit in this world too, and Rob suspects that this fruit might be hiding a secret similar to the rubber fruit. It seems that Luffy is really going to impel down. I wonder how he will get in BFT. Alvia almost choked after seeing where Luffy was hiding. Chapter 600, Sengoku's Shock. One Piece Events. The conditions are as I stated over the Den Den Mushi, Hancock declared indifferently as she stood on the head of one of the two snakes pulling the Kuja ship, showering down towards the marine warship. Mangaka, who was eating a piece of meat, looked at her and said, "Only you and that pet snake will be allowed on board. As for visiting the great prison Impel Down, I managed to get permission from my superiors. Normally, even the Shichibukai stay away from that place, and even though this is a special case, you won't be able to stay for very long. Now, come aboard." Hearing that, Hancock leaped onto the marine warship. Looks like waiting was worth it. "I've fulfilled my duty," Mangaka said. "First, could you do something about my crew that you petrified? Or are they dead?" Mangaka gestured towards the petrified marine soldiers. Somehow, Luffy has gained the Shichibukai Boa Hancock's cooperation. He has successfully boarded the marine warship. And that ship is now headed for the world's greatest prison, the Great Sea Floor Prison Impel Down. At that moment, Luffy embraced the fair, white back of Hancock beneath her wide cloak. "Marine Ford. How the hell can't you notice someone hiding in another person's clothes?" shouted Sengoku loudly. "Don't just say he didn't notice. Is the future Mangaka careless enough not to inspect a dangerous Shichibukai like Boa Hancock with the observation haki at least once?" Sengoku was extremely angry at the negligence of his subordinate in the manga. It's clear that such a small trick that can't even fool children can be revealed if he just activates his observation haki. Luffy won't be able to infiltrate a warship no matter what. Not just Luffy. No other pirate can infiltrate a warship with a vice admiral on board, even if they have the ability of the invisibility fruit. This puzzled Sengoku, Akainu, Zephyr, Tsuru, and even the young Mangaka who was present with them. "Sorry, it's my mistake." Mangaka felt embarrassed and wanted to apologize, but Zephyr stopped him. "What are you apologizing for, boy? It's a mistake of your future counterpart. You didn't do anything wrong, no need for that," Zephyr said with a warm smile. Zephyr was indeed a very kind admiral. Does this mean how the plot armor affects the world? Sabotaging logic in the story? It makes everything difficult, too easy for its owner. Tsuru sighed before saying. But as she said that, she felt a bad premonition. The plot armor can't possibly lead to the destruction of the authority of Impel Down as well, where it will become impossible to escape after entering it with the arrival of the Straw Hat. At the moment Tsuru said that an expression of shock stiffened on Sengoku's face. He immediately took out the Den Den Mushi and called Garp. "Garp, you foolish idiot. Listen to me, you have to prevent your son from having Luffy no matter what." "Damn it, Garp." He cut off the call. Sengoku was on the verge of collapse under the pressure imposed by the events of the One Piece manga. If such a lucky protagonist is born into the world, doesn't that mean another person like Rob will rise in the future? Just thinking about it made their souls tremble. It seems that the future of the world government and the Marines is extremely dark. Maragoa. If only Sengoku, Tsuru, and the others can infer such a thing, how can't the rulers of the world? Straw Hat Luffy, despite his weakness at the moment, he is extremely dangerous. That's true, he gets support from a lot of people every time he sets foot on solid ground. I fear he'll cause chaos and Impel Down. That's for sure, at least we'll learn from the next lesson and strengthen our power and the power of Impel Down to another level. That's also possible. The voices of dissent have started to spread in the forums, They want the fall of the world government and the fall of the celestial dragons. No, they mock us as celestial pigs. Unforgivable. As expected. The bastard Rob succeeded in stirring up popular anger against us again because of the slavery issue. What do you advise us to do, my lord? Which light do you want us to extinguish this time? If you want us to start a direct war with the Hunters Guild, we'll gather all we have for it. 800 years of accumulated power cannot be lost to just a rising force with only 4 years. Our power is not enough. Focus on strengthening your hockey, and be prepared for war at any moment. Emo changed her position and sat expressionlessly. Her bright red eyes seemed to become darker as if influenced by some kind of power. No one could read what was going on in her mind. Even me, the author. O'Hara. Inside his palace, Rob opened the new volume titled A World Where You're Better Off Dead, and started reading with a very expression. His facial expressions changed from one image to another, where he felt complete astonishment. What appeared in this chapter was nothing expected previously, and it didn't match what he knew so far. At that moment, Rob felt as if one side of his face was heating up, as if he were slapped in the face by the real author. That wraps up this part of What If Becoming a Mangaka in One Piece World. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.